Hey, good morning, y'all. Today is, what is today? Today is Tuesday. We're going to be going into week 6, policies and practices for the work-based learning program. Trying something new and giving us like a freer day on Mondays. So we'll be doing days 21 and 22 today. I'll go over, like kind of the basics of like policies and practices. And then at the end, we'll revisit the group agreements that we created a couple weeks ago, but didn't really get a chance to discuss. So we'll just hop in and we'll go from there. All right, so where we're gonna start is just kind of like generally background, like how things work in a cooperative. And so how things, like generally work is that there are member owners, excuse me, and those members can then like elect or select managers and also the board of directors that like oversees the managers to make sure that the work gets done. So you can see here for like Mindy Bakery, they've got worker owners that then come onto the board and also manage the company. And so it's sort of like a collective in that the members are both the management and the governance function within that cooperative. Equal Exchange, a different cooperative, operates differently. They have a lot more members. And how they work is their worker owners are going to be electing a board of directors, up to 9 people. That board of directors is going to be handling the governance functions of the cooperative. They're going to empower some managers who will then oversee the work, making sure that the co-op is doing its thing. And yeah, I'll just say now that we're going to talk more about like the difference between like governance and management further into the program. But just for now, like in essence, governance is like setting the mission, vision, helping to set up the management structures and decision-making structures. Management, on the other hand, is like, entering into your role, helping to get the work done, and just, kind of like overseeing that day-to-day operation of like what's already been put in place. And when we're talking about like policies, oftentimes we're talking about the board making those policies, because unless a cooperative decides otherwise, the board of directors is going to have that governance function, helping to set the mission, vision, values of the org, helping to set the action plan, helping to set up the management, etc. And so this is, a brief excerpt from a housing co-op toolbox, but these things still apply. It's talking about like when developing policies, you want to develop sound, fair, and comprehensive policies for the governance and maintenance of the co-op. When you're using these, you want to make sure that you're being true to the intent of the policies. They're often statements of intent and providing guidelines and practices for how to operate. They help us identify like the criteria to make decisions, and other things along the way. And so if you want to take a look at this handout, it's inside of the curriculum, and pages 34 and 35 I talk mostly about policies, some things you want to look into when creating the policies, and things to look into for like maintaining those. For nearly every type of entity, whether it's a cooperative corporation, general stock corporation, or an LLC, there's going to be different levels of documents that are going to be doing different things. So this is something we're also going to be talking more about and getting like hands-on deeper into the program. But in terms of an introduction, I'm going to introduce you to articles of incorporation or organization, bylaws, and employee handbooks. Those are like 3 levels of governance management documents. And so your articles of incorporation, I'll pull up an example here. The articles of incorporation are what you're going to be giving to the Secretary of State, letting them know that you're starting business as whatever your entity is called. In the articles of incorporation, you usually want to not put anything incredibly too specific. These things are like articles of incorporation are like the hardest things to change inside of your business. So it's usually when you're putting things in here, it's usually kind of high level stuff, unless you like really want to restrict your organization to a certain thing. The next set of documents that you're going to be creating to create structures for your cooperative are your bylaws. And bylaws are a little bit different. It looks like bylaws are a little bit different. They are basically the rule book of the cooperative, and these bylaws like set out like what are members, like how do you become a member. They talk about how people become board of directors or officers on the board. They talk about decision making and also like financial provisions. The bylaws aren't usually as hard to change as the articles of incorporation, but they are difficult. And so you're also going to want to try to be high level, but you can get a little bit into the weeds depending on what it is you're seeking to do. As you are, excuse me. As you are creating, after you finish creating your articles of incorporation to let the state know you're going in business, you finish your bylaws to create the high level rule book for your cooperative. You're going to want to then move into handbooks, employee or board handbooks. This is an example of an employee handbook created by Sustainable Economies Law Center. And inside this handbook, you'll find stuff talking about, mission and organizing principles and things like that, but also things that you have to have in there, stuff like discrimination and harassment policies, stuff to like let folks know like what full-time versus part-time and like different kinds of employees mean, like the kinds of records, the kinds of hours and pay, any kinds of benefits. Like, I guess it says codes of conduct here, but just like intentions or practices that you want to make sure that everyone is doing. Those kinds of things are going to be likely put into the handbook. When thinking about like what goes into the articles of incorporation, the bylaws, or your handbooks, you're going to want to think about like, is this thing, something that we're going to want to lock in for the life of the co-op or close to the life of the co-op? Or is it something that's going to be changing very often? If the policy or practice is changing often, it's probably going to go into like an employee handbook or a policy manual, a practices manual, something like that. If it's something that you definitely know you want to stay with the co-op for the life of the co-op, and until like something drastic changes, you're probably going to put that in the bylaws or maybe even the articles of incorporation. So one example would be when thinking about members, let's say for a worker cooperative, how someone becomes a member will be found in the bylaws. The fact that the business is a worker cooperative and can have worker members, that'll be found in the articles of incorporation. How those workers interact with each other and do the work on a day-to-day basis, that'll likely be found in the policies and practices. And the last thing I'll talk about in terms of policies and practices are minutes of the board of directors. The board is required to take minutes and record down the actions and et cetera that have happened inside of the co-op. One of the first things you're going to have to do when incorporating your cooperative is create a resolution inside of your minutes that talks about how everyone within the co-op, the members, the board, is good with the articles of incorporation, the bylaws, the officers, and other things. And then, yeah, this will be signed, and you'll continue doing meeting minutes after that. And so I guess the last, or not the last, but when thinking about like how to structure your cooperative with like how members make decisions, how management makes decisions, and how the board of directors makes decisions, that's kind of up to you. There are defaults that one can pursue. For example, by default, cooperatives are ran or governed by their board of directors, unless you want to put that power in the hands of the workers. And so, yeah, as you're creating your cooperative or thinking through learning more about the co-ops that you're placed in, you'll see that different co-ops have different methods for dealing with that, like management, governance, like seesaw, I'll call it. And so, yeah, sometimes that distinction might be by the title of the meeting, right? Like, sometimes folks are meeting to talk about the work and managing the work. Sometimes folks are meeting about as a member and thinking about like, do we invite a new member in to become, a full member of our cooperative? Sometimes they're thinking as boards of directors and meeting as boards of directors to like flesh out their vision or the mission for the next year or so. So that's the brief introduction into policies and practices and where to look and find different kinds of policies or practices. Are there any questions about what was presented right now with this brief overview? Okay, great. Thanks for getting in the chat. If you do have a question, you're welcome to chime in. Before we get into reviewing the group agreement that we created some time ago, I do want to say that for the cooperative development folks, take some time to familiarize yourself with these like model documents or the like other documents that are linked in here, because this is going to be really important for you figuring out, how you set the intention, the vision for your thing, and how you manage it. So yeah, please, peruse through that. Everyone else just doing the 5 hours of general ed. There won't be any prompts today, but you are also welcome to go explore, get familiar with this stuff. On Thursday, we'll be having a Q&A with like cooperative folks about how they do their policies and practices. So yeah, just get familiar with this, start to develop some questions so that come Thursday, we can have a cool conversation with the folks that show up. Okay, so about 2 weeks ago, we made our first draft of our group agreements. We didn't get a chance to, talk about them or see, if folks like want to amend something, take something down. It'd be great if we can all, give affirmation to them and say like, yeah, like, I can hold this down through the rest of the 6 months. And yeah, that'll be the end of today. So maybe what we can do is firstly just kind of like read 2 or 3 of these out loud. We'll go in a circle so we get all of the intentions we've stated in the room, and then we can move from there. So the order will be I'll go first, then Balas, Tut, Elizabeth, Billy, and Jamila. You'll be last. Okay, so I'll go first. First, we got embrace curiosity. Then we've got move up, move up. Listen as much as you lead. Next, we've got acknowledge the difference between intent and impact, and that there are different ways to process things. Okay, Balas, go ahead.
Okay, hold on. It's just 1 second. Keep this a Black-centered space. Feel and share empathy with each other. Avoid being judgmental. Uplift and encourage each other to give 100% inside and out of the program.
Thank you, bro.
Okay.
Tut, go ahead. Hey, Ted, are you with us? Able to read?
Yeah, bro, I'm here. Hold on 1 second. So, are we at work as a group?
Yep.
Okay. So to work as a group and show respect. This is a big one. I like that. Do I read another one or shall I pass it on?
Yeah, read 2 or 3.
Okay. So another one, this was cute. Throw glitter, not shade. Lead with positivity and empathy. Okay. Check in with yourself. Make sure you're nourished and in sound mind. Okay. And I'll do one more. Show interest in the collective project. All right, be diligent. Work, because you know that you're a part of a wheel, a cog. Okay, be diligent because you expect that of your other cooperators. Okay, so I just want to expound on one of them. Now pass it on to the next person.
Thank you, Tut. Elizabeth, are you able to read?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Be prepared and show and open. Be prepared and open to get walk to the connection, the correct information. Follow up and follow through. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Celebrate your wins. Be
Thank you, Elizabeth.
and open.
Billy, you want to read the next 2?
Sure. So we got be flexible and open to change. Have the mindset of listening to others, and communicate and let people know.
Okay, bless. Thanks, Joe. So Jamila, we didn't get you in there in terms of reading, but maybe you can be the first and with comments. Like I guess the prompts are, how does this look to you? Is there anything you'd like to add or remove?
I'm kind of looking through it. Give me 1 second. Okay, they all look good to me. I guess for the one that says be prepared and open to get walk to the correct information. I don't know if we can like amend that one to like be prepared and open to receiving the correct information, or open to learning the correct information.
Could we
Yeah.
say maybe be prepared to learn and open to give walk to the correct information? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, bless. Thank you. Let's go back to the top. So Blas, Tut, and Elizabeth. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling great, man. This is more than what we normally create in my in my groups that have been working on bigger projects. But I think there's no bigger project than self-development education. That's what this cohort is about right now. So what I see is beautiful. I would just like if we can make time to go over it at least weekly. I would prefer daily or just in your own time, your own space. Just read these agreements and make sure that we're coming in mind, okay, of the agreements every day and try to apply them on an individual level for the collective. But I love it.
Bless.
Black centered space. Can it be a white centered space?
No,
No.
I'm sorry.
Just joking.
Okay. So you feeling good about it? And nothing you want to change or add?
No, this is straight. It's detailed to help the communication be A1 between each other, and also to show how to build correctly. So we in there like swimwear.
Sure. Thank you. Elizabeth, what are your thoughts?
I agree with everything that's written.
Sure. Thank you. Billy, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts on this is pretty solid. It pretty much hits on a lot of key points that, solidifies a lot of the collectiveness and everything, and which is the main thing is keeping the communication and the respect level between the co-op and the inner circle strong. So that's what I'm getting on this, and that's important. So that I think that this is pretty solid.
Okay, bless. Thank you all. I think I have maybe a couple suggestions. At the end, I want to put communicate early, because like that's really the thing. Like, let us know in advance. But communicate whenever you can. So that's one I'd like to add. I think I heard something about like review these agreements regularly. Review this agreement regularly. So I'll put that in there. And those are my only two amendments. Is everybody good with that?
Yep.
Yep.
The last, Billy, how are you?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I heard you, Billy. The last one, I heard you, Elizabeth, too. Okay. All right, thank you all. So this is kind of like a lesson or an experience in doing some of this like group governance, decision-making, policy-making, etc. Right? And I guess I want to just like restate that when making these kinds of things, it's really important to review them because like creating them is one thing, but remembering them and putting them into practice is another. And so we want to like give ourselves compassion in terms of like, maybe we may stray away from them, but if we're giving ourselves the chance to review them, we can always bring ourselves back. And also like, sometimes or like oftentimes we want to make these things living documents. And so if we create regular points of review, then we give ourselves the opportunity to say like, yeah, this is good, or this isn't so good. So that brings us to the end of today. Appreciate you all for showing up, showing out. We're going to continue onward with this work tomorrow, and then keep moving. Appreciate you.
Appreciate your leadership, brother. You know how we do. All right, y'all. Have a great week. Woo!